Hey Carl, I know you found the session very difficult and we went through quite a lot of stuff there and it was going to take a little bit of practice to get this position that we're trying to get with a driver, but I'm confident, mate, with a bit of practice over a bit of time you'll start being able to make a swing that's going to make this drive actually go down the fairway, not go way out to the right. You use it 3 times around a golf and then shove it back into your bag. You've done really well with your short game and your shorter irons, getting them a lot more under control now, and you can certainly get the ball nicely close to the target or close to the green from 110, 120 yards and in. However, you are going to kind of cap yourself at how low your scores can actually get, because without hitting the ball any further than what you were doing, it's going to be really, really difficult to get your scores under those sort of 5s, 6s and 7s on those par 4s. So we're going to show you now the left-hand swing as it was on the first thing, okay? This was kind of your backswing before, as we can see. Very kind of short. Your left arm here is very kind of low. It's not really getting above the shoulder. In an ideal world, we want your left arm to be a bit more on the this red line rather on that lower left line, okay? And there's not really much turn there. So as you come from here now, you're just trying to put all your power, which obviously you've got loads of in abundance, into the golf ball. Start swinging your hand. You look at this position here now. I mean, your thumb is kind of on this side of the grip, pointing back towards us, which would mean the club face now, just for impact, is pointing over here. So as much as you're going to try and hit the ball towards target, you come into the golf ball now. Next frame, there's kind of impact. You can sort of see yourself trying to sort of pull that club to the left. The ball already starting over there. Wide open club face. There's impact on the wall. I mean, if the target we're aiming for is kind of here, buddy, and you're hitting there, you've got that club face a good sort of 20, 30 degrees open out to the right. It's never going to go anywhere near target, and all you can really do from there is just shove the ball way off to the right, as we can see, and the ball then curves off to the right. And again, quite a very tight, compact, short follow through. So if we look here on the right hand one, a lot of the stuff that we were doing was purely based on feel alone. We're not actually trying to get you in long term to have the club pointing, the shaft that is, over here. But what you instinctively did was swung the club. When you swung the golf club back, because you made such a big turn with your shoulders, because you wanted more power and you wanted the ball further, you would turn your shoulders here, the top of the back. So you can see here now, at this position, yes, your arm is higher, but you've turned your back about 140 degrees, and the club shaft, and I keep saying shaft because the face is the problem, the club shaft now you can see is kind of pointing way over to the right. I mean, if you think of that on the screen, we would want the club shaft to be pointing somewhere on this sort of line, okay? So you made a big old turn, and if we just look at this image on the right-hand side now, the only position your golf club can come travelling to the golf ball now is coming from way behind the ball here, and you're going to hit the golf ball way to the right. So what we're trying to do, and I say it's purely feel alone. I know you said you found it difficult. It's not what we're trying to do, but it's just as a feel drill. You've got to make golf swings where you get to the top of the backswing and feel as though the shaft is pointing over here. Now you're going to do that with your hands and your wrists. You're not going to lower your arms or change your body position. You've got to control that golf club ultimately with your hands. And as I said, that's why when you're gripping it as tight as you were, you had no control. You couldn't move the club at all. Your arms are so locked and tight, they kind of just went where they went. So we can loosen that grip pressure and control that club. I know I move the camera there. That's the feeling we want to have the club over there, pointing, as you can see now, more towards what we call left of target. As I said to you in the lesson, we call that laid off. Where you were before, this position here, with that club over here above your head going way to the right, we call that across the line. So we want to try and make sure we get that club laid off, pointing over here purely as a feeling, okay? So you've got to make some swings here now. When you try to point towards the wall, that's where you've got to. Now that's more towards target and actually not too bad a position. But this here, this position you're in now where the club is actually pointing there, that felt to you like the shaft was pointing over here. And then you bring it back again more to where you want to try and get to. And then again, try to point the shaft now towards the wall. That's where you get to. And this now here is a much better position. At least from here, you've got a chance to bring that club back to the golf ball and hitting the golf ball in this direction, okay? So the practice you've got to do, and I wouldn't even do it down the driving range, I just do it at home, in the back garden, somewhere you can space to swing a golf club and get the sensation. You're getting the arm up nice and high there with this left arm up across your shoulder in the backswing, and you're going to get the shaft now with your wrist pointing not across the line here where the club shaft is, but pointing where this yellow line points. If I put a little arrow on here now, that yellow arrow that I've drawn I want you to make practice swings. And if you want to, buddy, send them back to me with the club shaft effectively on that yellow arrow. And to do that, your wrists here are going to have to move and change the direction that shaft is pointing. So you need to practice that till it becomes more comfortable. You can see here now, even in these backswings, when you're trying to point it behind you, you get nowhere near it. So the feeling of pointing it over there, you'll never get there, but that is purely the feeling, okay? You can see when you're at the golf ball now, at least from this position, even though you tried to point it, when you went into real swing, the club now is still across the line. So the club now is going to be coming in from this direction. If we can get the shaft more in that direction, the club will swing more in that direction towards target. However, at least because of the better movement, it wasn't bad, it wasn't your best, but it's better. The ball now we can see is starting at least a little bit on line to target. So rather than starting 45 degrees over there, we're starting a few degrees right at target. So it's going to take a bit of time, buddy. And I say it's not going to just click, but if you can work on that backswing position only, get that club feeling like it's laid off, get the shaft pointing towards the wall. If needs be, get someone, obviously a long way back, but get someone stood behind you and try and point the shaft towards them. As we said, the term we used in the session was, imagine you've got a gun and you're going to try and point that towards a target and shoot something behind here, okay? Get that feeling of laying off the club so you get the club in a position where you can bring it back to the golf ball in a much more efficient manner rather than coming from way in here and just sending the golf ball out to the right, buddy. So I hope that will make sense. I'll try to make it as simple as possible to try and make you understand where we need to go with that club. Like I said, it's purely feel. It's not actually real, okay? The club ideally is going to point to target at the top. It's not going to point to that wall behind you, but it's going to feel like that to you in the initial stages. So give that a bit of practice. Send some videos back to me. Keep in touch, and we'll catch you soon, buddy. Cheers, mate.